Skins and the sisters and the Calcestis too. 1,000 stupid feats couldn't keep me from you. That's right, it's time to talk about your guide to tackle on the brand new Conquest, bringing back a second Malgus unit, Darth Malgus Fury Interceptor, and this one is gonna be very important. In case you're sleeping in a cave on Tatooine, this ship is gonna be incredibly important because it's gonna be a requirement for the upcoming Leviathan capital ship piloted by Darth Revan. We're gonna give you all the tips and tricks to get the highest crate you can get inside a Conquest. But without further ado, let's show you what Papa Arnold can do. So let's show you the rewards breakdown real quick for hard, normal, and easy. Obviously, if you're trying to your best shot to get Darth Malgus Fury Interceptor to 7 stars, day 1, you gotta participate in hard mode. And I guess what we should be talking about here is if you're not getting max crate, what is probably feasible? It depends on your roster, what stuff you have, if you can accomplish most of the feats. Obviously, ideally, you'd love to get hard mode crate, max it out 3 times, boom, you're done. But let's be a bit more pragmatic. What you should really try to strive for is trying to hit that gold crate. So if you go for a gold crate, which is pretty ideal, you have a lot of flexibility to skip out on feats, as we're going to talk about. 65 times 3 conquests, that puts you at 195, right? But don't forget, you're also going to be able to pick up Darth Malgus Fury Interceptor shards throughout the way when you visit the shipment. If through every conquest, you're going to get an additional 20 shards of the Fury class Interceptor when visiting the merchant nodes. So times 3, that's going to give you another 60, putting you at 255. And you might be like, well, Arnold, I'm still a bit short. Well, this puts you in a good situation for when the next Conquest comes around. Malgus' Fury Interceptor becomes a secondary reward, and then you can just get the rest of the shards through that, or just through the merchant nodes again afterwards. So imagine that the Fury class Interceptor is going to be put as a secondary reward just from that and ignoring anything else out there. That would give you an additional 75, and that puts you, boom, at 330. And of course, you can do that even faster. You can still get Fury class Interceptor through those merchant nodes down the road in the second round of Conquest whenever the next big thing comes out. So point being is if you can get the gold crate, you're still looking at a fairly early unlock the next go around whenever the next Conquest cycle comes for the new unit. So set your eyes for hard mode, going for that gold crate, and because if you go for normal, you're not really going to be in the running for getting these units anytime soon. You're only getting 25 Fury Interceptor shards per Conquest. If you're getting red crate, that's only going to put you at 75, which puts you way off the mark of trying to get this unlocked as early as possible. And here are the rewards for easy mode. You're not even going to get Fury class Interceptor shards. You really want to try to do normal as soon as possible, and ideally just get into hard mode as soon as possible. And I get this question all the time. I answer it all the time. I'm going to answer it again. Should you do normal? Should you do hard mode? If you can, get max rewards in normal. Just promote yourself up to the hard mode, because as you see, the hard mode rewards for the first crate are already better than the normal max crate rewards. Let's talk about data discs before we start investigating the feats. One of my favorite data disc sets. One of my favorite data disc sets is back on the menu. It's going to make it very easy to cheese tons of feats, taking low gear, trying to do more than you probably should otherwise. And I'm talking thermal exhaust, caustic emission, amplify agony is back, and that's going to be likely the obvious Conquest meta this cycle. So I'm going to recommend 2 different sets. One, if you're trying to just maximize winning, you're going to want to get as much caustic emission as possible. Get yourself just 1 volatile accelerator and get yourself just 1 thermal exhaust. Whatever rarity you can get, the better the better. And if you got room, throw in an ability exhaust. That's going to be great for just blowing up the enemy. It's a lot of fun. Only downside of going with this route is that the kills aren't going to be counted towards specific this character must kill type of feats, because the thermal detonators are going to do all the work. So I would recommend trying along the way, keep that, but also maybe try to pick up a few more so when you need to get kill specific feats, you can make sure you get the kills and not the thermal detonators. And if you're going to go down that route, get yourself a couple of amplify agonies, a volatile accelerator, an ability exhaust. But I think for most instances, you're going to want to use the thermal detonator data disc that I recommended earlier. Let's talk about feats. Long story short, if you're going for maximum crate, you could skip out on a total 34 key cards. So we'll talk about which ones I would recommend skipping. It's going to vary depending on what your roster looks like, of course. But the most glaring issue, what's going to be the biggest complication? Firstly, they're requiring 3 Conquest units for specific feats. Luckily, not a lot of key cards, but still nonetheless. Boba Fett Sign of Django in Sector 3's got 2 key cards. Admiral Trench has a 5 key card and the boss node in Sector 5. Darth Malgus has 4 key cards in Sector 4. The other pain points probably going to be Seer Junda, Cal Kestis, and the Tuskens. Kind of newish things this year. Luckily, Tuskens, I think, have a good chance of winning even at low gear, and you might already have some decently geared Tuskens because of Jabba, because of Lord Vader requirements. So as a reminder, you only need 630 key cards if you're going for max crate, giving you an allowance of 34 key cards you can completely skip out. And of course, if you're going for the hard mode crate, gold crate, as we talked, which is still very good to get, you can skip out on 134 key cards. So a very manageable threshold for a lot of folks that are over that 4 million GP threshold. Let's talk about global feats first, because you want to try to keep that in mind when you're tackling the sectors, when you're doing your sector feats. See if you can try to also tie it in with the global feats. So with the global feats, you have your standard defeat 500 enemies, 40 battles with full squads of unaligned forest users. That will be a bit annoying if you don't have Supreme Leader Kylo, Galactic Legends, Rey, or even Inquisitors. The 20 battles of Tuskens, the 40 battles of Mirren, Mother Talzit, and Old Daka. So already requiring Mirren as a global feat. And pretty typical stuff we had from a past couple conquests, winning 20 battles with Trip and BT, which unlocked massively overpowered. And then you gotta get massively overpowered 20 times, so 16 key cards tied to BT and Trip. And then Cal Kestis and Seer Junda. It seems like it's going to be annoying getting 100 enemies defeat of Cal Kestis or Seer Junda. We have some options. But then when you do that, you unlock Booming Voice, which is needed for another 15 key cards. So in total, 16 key cards for Cal Kestis, Seer Junda right there. So here are my suggested options you have at the table. The unaligned forest user is going to be a bit of a struggle if you don't really have any of these guys. You need a full team of unaligned forest users. And the really only feasible way to get a full unaligned team of forces that aren't trash is Galactic Legends Rey with light side force unaligned force users, Supreme Leader Kylo dark side unaligned force users, the Inquisitors. I feel bad for those that don't have Reva. Holy cow, Reva's gonna be nice to have. It's gonna be so easy getting the Purge knocked out, the full Inquisitor team, all that stuff. And Seer Junda is the one that takes care of leftover unaligned forest users. So I'm thinking most are probably going to be trying to use their Rey or Kylo. Tuskens, not a lot of variety that you have. It's unfortunate Boba Fett Sign of Django does not have the Tusken tag outside of 3-3 Grand Arena. This is going to be your ideal Tusken team. Don't underestimate low gear Tuskens, especially if the data disc sets. I think you might be able to make it work. So especially once you get to Sector 3 and you start having momentum feats, give it a test. See if you can make your Tuskens work even at low gear. You might have already a decent Tusken Raider, for example, or from all the Galactic Legend requirements. Let the momentum from the Tusken Chieftain lead do its thing to put debuffs, stun lock the enemy, and let the data disc pile on top of that. Good chance you might be able to make this work, and you don't have to skip out on that. Night Sisters, pretty obvious. There's going to be a lot of plague-related feats as well in the other sectors, so you're going to be able to double dip at certain points with global and sector. I'm not looking forward to the Seer and Cal Kestis stuff. The only obvious thing right now is using Master Luke lead, having Wat Timbor put the taunt on Master Luke because he's not going to taunt because your team's not full of Jedi. So you want to force a taunt and then have Master Luke use the lead, the inherited teachings, on Cal Kestis or Seer Junda to try to get 100 kills. That sounds miserable for me when I'm looking at what I'm personally going to skip. I can do probably the rest of the stuff. I might skip out on that. That just sounds like a headache to deal with. And then BT Trip, you got a lot of options. Again, the good thing about BT and Trip, you don't need to win with them being alive. They could be dead right away because they might have garbage gears. You just have to win the battle, and BT and Trip just had to make a presence in there. So using General Grievous, Shorty, heck, Beskar Mando, he's got some Scoundrel synergies baked in there, Dr. Afro, a lot of ways to do it. Taking a look at Sector 1 here. Pretty standard stuff, nothing too crazy out of the ordinary. Defeat 50 enemies with Jedi units, attempt to inflict evasion down for 40 turns, gain secret intel 80 times, inflict blind 60 times, only attempting. Then your mini boss is asking to use Hermit Yoda and then not to use any Jedi Sith unaligned forest users. The boss battle is asking for T3 and 4, which will tie well with some of those droid things like the BT and Trip stuff we talked about in the global. And you can't use the Galactic Legend as well, so kind of something new. I don't think we've had feats where they've asked you to take out Galactic Legends. So recommendations for the Jedi feats. Again, this isn't too much of big brain stuff. Master Luke, Jedi Knight Revan, whatever the case might be. Ideally, you'd like to try to tie in as many feats together. So if you're doing a Jedi team and you're using Master Luke or Jedi Revan, maybe squeeze in things like Old Ben to try to get some evasion down. The go-to evasion down characters are generally Old Ben, Zam Wessel, 3PO and Chewie, as well as Bastila Shan Fallen. So if you're building a Jedi team, hey, throw Old Ben in there. And the good thing is 3PO and Chewie double dips into the blind feat as well. 3PO and Chewie applies blind on the AoE effect, which has the buff dispel on Shining Distraction, but also it's going to be great because on the basic, anytime he's being called to assist, inflict evasion down. So this is going to be a 2-for-1. Likely 3PO and Chewie is going to be the go-to, but you have other options. Another thing I like to do is if I encounter a Jedi node, I like to use my 8th brother, have 8th brother just go out there, spam the debuffs, because with Jedi, they have unresistible blind when using the photon grenade. Secret Intel, only one character that does Secret Intel, BB-8. I recommend just doing a full droid team and just get the Secret Intel. The good thing about things like blind, evasion down, Secret Intel, you don't need to win the battle for it to process how much Secret Intel, blind, evasion down you got. So you can go in there and just literally try to cheese Secret Intel on one battle, and if you lose, that's fine. It'll still count all the secret intel that happened. Just make sure you let the battle end. Don't quit the battle. If you quit the battle, it doesn't count any of the progress you made. Nothing too crazy still happening in Sector 2. Winning 14 battles with no attackers. Evade at least 100 attacks in the battles you won, so you have to win in that situation. Attempt to inflict plague 200 times. Gain health steal up 20 times, and then your mini boss battles asking for Sana Staros to survive, and then no Jedi Sith online Force user, and then the boss battles asking for Cad Bane and Aura Singh, and again, win without using any Jedi Sith online Force users in your squad. Good thing is you can knock out both Cad Bane, Aura Singh, and that in the same exact go, which is nice. So Sector 2 is where you're going to want to maximize your Night Sister potential. This is great because a lot of people right now don't have a great Marin, probably Gear 11 at best if they want to get her up and make their Night Sisters usable in Grand Arena territories, all that fun stuff. But here, you're going to knock out that global feat, the Night Sisters with Marin, Talzin, and Old Daka. And you're going to be able to knock out the no attackers feat with this Night Sister feat. And it's going to also have Plague. So this is almost like 3 for 1. Night Sister, Sector 2, best bang per buck. This is the sector to definitely maximize your Night Sister usage. Evasion, this is great. I always use Darth Maul, and kind of like we said, as long as it doesn't say you have to win, it's going to process it. So I like to just throw in Darth Maul. You're going to automatically get stealth, which will be helpful for some other feats we'll talk about. They just have to evade. You don't need to win. And the great thing is if you don't win, it doesn't take stamina away from the team. So you can just do it 1 or 2 more times. Very easy way of knocking out the evasion feat. And also you got health steal up with Emperor Palpatine. So you can try to do 2 for 1. And speaking of health steal up, I always just recommend Emperor Palpatine. This also has no attackers on the squad, so you can double dip there as well. And I always like to just pass over turns from Thrawn to Emperor Palpatine, use the health steal up. Or if you have a Galactic Legend, I like to cheat a little bit more. I use Lord Vader, throw in Emperor Palpatine, throw in Thrawn, and it's another easy way to get health steal up right away. Pretty simple stuff. Sector 3! This is where we start feeling the pressure a little bit. Defeating 50 enemies of droid units, not bad. This one might be a bit of an issue. We'll have to wait and see. Gain momentum 1,000 times. Attempt to inflict purge 300 times, gaining foresight 60 times, win with Boba Sign of Jango, surviving, so that could be an issue if you don't have Boba Sign of Jango. But the good thing is you could do Boba Sign of Jango and the non-Jedi Sith online Force user squad in one go, which is kind of nice. And Dr. Aphra, another issue. If you don't have Dr. Aphra, could be a bit of an issue. But the good news is if you do have Dr. Aphra, you can knock out the Dr. Aphra and the non-GL thing in one go. So Sector 3, winning of droids. There, you really have 2 main droid teams. You can do the General Grievous Separatist droid team, or you could go for the Shorty droid team. The good news about this team, this has a little bit more foresight and things like that, and also this might be a good opportunity to have BT and Trip on the team to knock out that global feat. Here are your options when it comes to Tuskens and momentum. If you are going to try out Tuskens, this is the sector to try it out on because this is where momentum is. If you don't think you can make the Tusken survive long enough to get a good enough amount of momentum, or you're not really making any progress on winning battles, maybe try your low gear Tuskens in Sector 1 just so you can try to knock out the global feat for Tuskens. Hopefully the data discs help your Tuskens survive long enough. Worst case scenario, you can always try Boba Sign of Jango. He gets momentum on his basic ability. He gets some momentum on this ability. He gets momentum when he scores critical hits. So I guess in essence, you basically need to score like 1,000 critical hits. Not exactly with Boba Sign of Jango.
if you don't have Tuskens on them. So you can try, but that's a little bit grindy, but there is an option to table to try to make Boba Fett work for you. For the Purge, I'm going to have it easy. I have Reva, and when you use Reva lead, basically the whole entire enemy team already starts off with like 30 stacks of Purge. So my life is easy, but if you don't have Reva, try out Grand Inquisitor lead. If you don't have Grand Inquisitor, you have that budget option of using Emperor Palpatine with a bunch of Inquisitors that you should have from marquee events, and you just have them spam the Purge. And again, you don't need to win. You just gotta go into battle, get as much Purge as possible, let the battle complete, and it'll count the progress towards the Purge feat. And then Foresight, you got a lot of options. Likely what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Grandmaster Yoda with my Master Kenobi. Grandmaster Yoda uses the Foresight. Master Kenobi resets the cooldowns on Grandmaster Yoda. Throw an RT to really easy way to get tons of Foresight. Hermit Yoda with Jedi, pretty straightforward stuff. But since you gotta get some droid kills, this might be a good opportunity to use things like the R2, BB-8, IG-11 also has a great Foresight ability on Nurse Droid Protocol, so you get some Foresight right there. So it might be a good way to double up again. Try to maximize your run. Do as many things in one battle. Sector 4, we're almost there, y'all. Some of my favorite feats, defeating 50 enemies with Imperial Troopers, 2 main squads you can use there. Attempt to inflict ability block 60 times, gain stealth 40 times, and win at least 14 battles with a full squad of rebels. They're asking for Seer Junda to be used for the mini boss node, and she has to survive. She can't just be there and die. She actually has to survive, so that could be a little bit challenging. If you have a low gear Seer Junda, might want to tuck her in like a Galactic Legends Rey or Master Luke or Master Kenobi. And then you're going to need Darth Malgus for Sector 4 as well. So with Imperial Troopers, you have the good old Veers Super Trooper team. You have the Iden Versio Imperial Trooper team. Not much to talk about. Those are your 2 main Imperial Trooper squads. The stealth feat, very easy to do if you have Darth Maul. Darth Maul starts the battle off with stealth on all the Siths. So that's 5 stealth right there. And if you can, try to lump in some ability block. Bastila Shan's basic ability block. Darth Talon basic ability block. Count Dooku basic ability block. Darth Vader a basic ability block. Great way of maximizing again. Don't worry about needing to win. If you can knock out your stealth and ability block in 1 or 2 or 3 attempts, that's pretty good for you. And then we have a good old Rebel lineup. There's so many Rebel lineups you can do out there. Mon Mothma, Commander Luke Skywalker, Rogue One, whatever the case might be. But if you can, try to see if you can squeeze in several things at once. You have the Rebel team, you have Stealth from R2, and then you have ability block from old Ben Kenobi. So quite a few ways of trying to blend several things into one. And finally, we made it to Sector 5. Defeating 50 enemies with Inquisitorius units, 14 battles with no tanks, attempt to inflict armor shed 20 times, gain defense up. Hopefully you have Cal Kestis for the mini boss node and Admiral Trench for the boss node in Sector 5. That's a little poo-poo. So again, you're going to need Inquisitors. Hopefully you have Grand Inquisitor at this point. Luckily, Grand Inquisitor will be available permanently in the Journey Guide coming around, what is that, June, July, but we need it now. If you don't have an Inquisitor team, a full Inquisitor team, you're going to have to do some really funky stuff. Again, luckily it's not a full team Inquisitors. You just have to have them get the kill. So what you can do is try to do like one of those taunt situations on Master Luke. Let the Inquisitors try to get in some kills, and that's where Amplify Agony, the caustic emission, is going to be very helpful to try to work your way through those teams and let the debuffs carry a lot of the heavy load. So not impossible. Annoying, yes. Another option is Emperor Palpatine lead with a bunch of Inquisitors. Luckily, Inquisitors will get a lot of turn because of Emperor Palpatine lead. Hopefully, you have Amplify Agony to try to do as much bonus damage because of debuffs. Again, not impossible, but a bit annoying. Another option for the no tank feats, if you're still working on finishing your Night Sisters or your Tusken feats, this is a good opportunity to use it in Night Sisters, especially with Marin now. You don't really need the Night Sister zombie as much. You can cheese your way through. Tuskens as well, they don't have any tanks on the team. If you need to get those last-second Tusken wins, likely this is going to be a little bit more challenging than Sector 3 or Sector 1, but, you can still try it out here. Another option out there, if you're still trying to unlock the unaligned Force user situation for the global feat, good opportunity to use race of unaligned Force users. Maybe throw in Ben Solo if you have him to get some armor shreds for this particular feat. And speaking of armor shreds, what I usually like to do is I just use Master Kenobi with General Skywalker, Commander Tano, Cadmundi. These 3 have armor shreds. Of course, I guess if you want to, throw in Commander Tano on that Galactic Legends Race Squad, and boom, you got yourself 2 characters on a raid team to have armor shred. Other options are going to be like the Armorer, Sabine, Moff Gideon. Not as easy to cheese or maximize your armor shred potential. This is honestly going to be the best way if you have the team afforded to you. Defense up, incredibly simple. You don't even need to win. This team has tons of defense up. Clone Wars Chewie, Lead has defense up. I'm a Gundai Special has defense up. Plo Koon Special has defense up. Barris Special has defense up. And then Grandmaster Yoda to copy all those buffs again. Likely, if you find yourself a good node, you can knock this out in one battle. And again, you don't need to win. And that's basically the overview, the guide that I have in mind for you folks out there. Now, of course, the big issue with Conquest is everyone's roster is going to be a little bit different. What I recommend or what I have might not apply to all you folks out there. So what I recommend are 2 additional resources. One, let's say you're looking at certain things. You're like, oh, I don't have that character for ability block or defense up or evasion down. SWGH.GG, one of the best, if not the best, free-to-play resource inside of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. When you go to units up here, and then you search by characters, there's a filter over here to the right. So when you click on filters, go to ability classes, and let's say you need to find someone for, I don't know, the ability block. All right, there you go. It shows you all the characters that have ability block. Boba Fett has an AoE ability block. It just doesn't make sense for a lot of the stuff we're doing because Boba Fett doesn't really tie in too much with some of the feats. And just for fun, another funny one's evasion down. That's kind of one of those where it's like, it's kind of one of those funky debuffs that we don't really care about. But here are your options for evasion down if you don't have Zam West or 3PO and Chewie like I recommend. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't include this. Bit Dynasty has this website. I promote it all the time. SWH for life. The great thing about this is really twofold. One, if you're someone that needs a daily plan, like today I have to do X, Y, or Z, they have a daily plan for you, what feats you should strive for, what characters you should be using. This is great for people that just like to be told what to do, and it gives you a nice little progress like where you are right now with your sector progress and your global feat progress. Really good to have that personal satisfaction visually seeing I'm making progress every single day. The other great thing about this is that Bit Dynasty puts out videos on pretty much all the sectors out there. So as the sectors start becoming live in a few short hours, he likes to make videos on how to do the boss notes, how to maximize weird feats. Like I'm sure they're gonna make a video on Seer Judah and Cal Kestis maximization. Highly recommend this website. There's a lot of great folks that do Conquest stuff. This is the one that I love because they put a lot of effort into this website. So again, big shout out to Bit Dynasty. I'll leave a link down below to their YouTube channel and this fantastic website, as well as swgh.gg. So enough chit chat. The grind starts now for Darth Malgus' Fury Interceptor. Hopefully this video was helpful to give you the summary on what to expect for these next 3 Conquest cycles. I'll see you guys back in the summer. Until then, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you not miss a thing. And always remember that it's great to be in the Empire today. Oh, it's great to be in the Empire.